Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Alex and this is the first video of Grammar Tricks. This is a series of videos in which I provide tricks to help you finally grasp something that you have studied before but you don't quite understand. This first video is about indirect and reported questions. And the reason why I put indirect and reported questions together is because the word order they have is exactly the same. What changes in this case is the function they have. We use indirect questions to be distant or polite with someone that we don't know very well. And we use reported questions to simply report a question that we heard before. And as I said before, the word order of indirect questions and reported questions is exactly the same, although their functions are very different. But we can take advantage of the fact that the word order is exactly the same and we can study both at the same time. So, whenever we want to turn a direct question into an indirect question or a reported question, we have to break the traditional structure that a question has. We start indirect questions like this. I don't know, I have no idea, could you tell me, I'd like to know, etc. And then you change the word order of the direct question and that's it. You have an indirect question. When you want a reported question, you do exactly the same, but you have to change the tense of verbs and also a few pronouns if necessary. And this is the way we change tenses when we report questions. If the direct question is in present tense, you're going to change it to past tense. If it is in present progressive, it will change to past progressive. If it is in simple past, you're going to change it to past perfect. That will be had plus past participle. If you find it in past progressive, then it will change to past perfect progressive. The same thing happens with the present perfect. The present perfect is have plus past participle. If it is the present perfect simple, then you're going to change it to the past perfect simple. If it is in present perfect progressive, you're going to change it to past perfect progressive. So this is how things are going to work. If you have to report a direct question that has the modal will, you have to report it using would. If the direct question has the modal would, then you have to use would again to report it. If you find a question with can, you report it using could. If you find a direct question with could, then you have to use could again to report it. If you find a direct question with may, you have to report it using might. If the direct question has the word might, then you have to report it using might again. If you don't know this very well, you can go to Google and type in reported speech and reported questions, and you will find all the details that you need. So now we can get started. First trick, eliminate these auxiliaries. We're going to eliminate do, does, and did from questions as auxiliaries. So when you eliminate do from a question, that's it, the question is ready. Then if you eliminate does, then you have to add s or es or ies to the verb. And when you eliminate did, then you have to change the verb to past tense. These are the three things you have to do when you eliminate any of these three auxiliaries. Here you do nothing. Here you add s, es, or ies, and then here you change the verb to simple past tense. So we have direct questions here in black. And I'm going to show you how we do this. So the first question says, why do you do that? As you can see, do is in the question twice, but only one of them is the auxiliary, and that's the one you're going to eliminate. So when we want to make an indirect question here, as you can see in blue, we have I don't know. You could also start like this. I have no idea, or could you tell me? The way you start the indirect question is irrelevant. What matters is how you change the order of words to make the direct question indirect. So we have I don't know, and then you repeat why, we eliminated do, you do that, and that's it. We have an indirect question. We eliminated do, and that's it. We don't need to do anything else. Then we move on to number 2. Where does she live? In this case we have does. We're going to eliminate does and then add s to the verb. So we say I have no idea where, and then we eliminated does, it's no longer there. We say she, and then we say lives. We add s to the verb because we eliminated the auxiliary does. Then we move on to number 3, and we have what did he eat? What did he eat? So in this case we eliminate did and then we change the verb to past tense. So we say, could you tell me what We eliminated did, it's no longer there, and then we say he ate. We changed the verb to past tense because we eliminated the auxiliary did, and that's the way it works. This is how we make indirect questions. Now I'm going to show you how to make reported questions from direct questions that have do, does, or did. In this case, we say, why do you do that? Then we change the structure to an indirect question. That's part of the process, let's say. And then we have, Alex asked me, assuming I am asking you all the questions. You say, Alex asked me, and then why, you eliminated do, and then I. And then, as I said before, the present tense changes to past tense. You have the verb do, you're going to change it to did, and then you have that. In this case, you are reporting to somebody else the question I asked you. Then we have number 2. Where does she live? We start the process making an indirect question and say, I have no idea where she lives. This is only to make it easier, but it's not necessary to go through the process of making an indirect question, okay? So then we have, Alex asked me where, we eliminated does, and then she, the verb is in present. As I said before, the present tense changes to past tense, so we say lived instead of lives. She lived and not she lives. Then number 3. What did he eat? If you want to make the process easier, you say, could you tell me what he ate? You make an indirect question first to make sure the structure is in the correct order, and then you can report the question if you want. It will get easier in time, and then you won't go through the process of making an indirect question to get to our reported question. So, what did he eat? You say, could you tell me what he ate? And then you say, Alex asked me what, no auxiliary, he had eaten. What happens here is simple. The present tense changes to past tense, but the past tense changes to past perfect. And you form the past perfect using had plus past participle. And that's how we make indirect or reported questions out of questions that have the auxiliaries do, does, and did. And then we have the second trick. Identify the subject. Whenever you don't have do, does, or did in a question, what you're going to do first is to identify the subject. Once you do that, then place the previous word after it. So you identify the subject, and then the word that you find before the subject will go after the subject, and that's how you will have a correct indirect question. Something you should know is that when you make an indirect question with do, does, or did, it's only with do, does, or did. I mean, the affirmative ones, the affirmative auxiliaries. If you make a question with don't as an auxiliary, with doesn't as an auxiliary, or didn't as an auxiliary, it's not going to work with this rule. Because when we use this rule, we eliminate the auxiliary. And if you eliminate don't, doesn't, or didn't, it is no longer negative, and you cannot change that. You have to keep it negative as it is. So don't, doesn't, and didn't work with the second trick or the second rule. So it doesn't matter what kind of question you come across. If it doesn't have do, does, or did, then it's the second trick or the second rule. So we have the type of words that you may find before the subject would be am, is, are, was, where, can, will, didn't, doesn't, don't, could, would, etc. It doesn't matter. It's not do, it's not does, it's not did, then it's the second trick or the second rule. The first question we have here is, who is he? Who is he? As you can see, the subject is he. So what do? Well, we take the word that's before he and then we put it after he, and that's it. So we start the question with do you know, or we can start with I don't know, I have no idea, or could you tell me? That is irrelevant. What matters is the correct word order. So we have do you know who he is? As you can see, the words here were inverted. So we have is he, and then when we make an indirect question, we say he is. Then, what are they doing? What are they doing? The subject is they, so you take are and you put it after they, and that's it. So you have, I don't know what they are doing. As you can see, the word order here was inverted. Then we have number 3. Why didn't you call me? The subject is you. So you take didn't, you don't eliminate it because it's negative, and if you eliminate it, then the question is no longer negative. So you cannot do that. You only change the position of didn't. So why didn't you call me? So you take this didn't and you put it after you, and that's it. You can start like this. I'd like to know, or I would like to know why you didn't call me. And that's it. Then if you want to make a report a question, we do the same thing we did here. We can start making an indirect question and then changing the tense to the correct one. So we have Alex asked me who, he, and then the past tense of is was. We have present, we change it to past tense. Then we have what are they doing? Alex asked me what they are. In the past tense would be where. So we repeat doing, and that's it. That's correct. We have an indirect question. I'm sorry, we have a reported question here. So why didn't you call me? Why didn't you call me? We say Alex asked me, because the question was for you. Why I, because you're speaking for yourself, hadn't called him. This is the past participle of call, and we use hadn't because the direct question is originally in the simple past tense, and the past tense changes to past perfect. So we say Alex asked me, that will be you, why I, you again, hadn't called him, me. I asked you why you didn't call me. So that's how you report questions using the second trick, which is basically the same thing as the first one. One last thing you should keep in mind is that these are all information questions. Information questions because we have why, where, what, who, what, and why. So this is all information that I will provide if somebody asks a question like this. But there are also yes-no questions. Yes-no questions are the questions that people ask and demand a yes or a no as an answer. For example, do you work? Yes. Are you happy? No. Do you feel hungry right now? Yes. Do you need money? Yes. Do you have a problem? No. So those are yes-no questions because they are answered with yes or no. When you have a yes-no question, you have to include if in the question. So this is how it works. We have, are you at home? This is a yes-no question because you're going to answer yes or no. So I'd like to know if, and this is how you do it, you are at home, and that's it. You do what I already told you to do, but since this is a yes-no question, you have to add if. Then, if you want to make a reported question, you say, Alex asked me if I, because the question was for you, was, because the conjugation in past tense for I is was, so this would be I am in the present, but it's in the past tense. So we say, Alex asked me if I was at home, and that's how you do it. If you have a question, a yes-no question with do, does, or did, this is how it works. Does she work here? Then you make an indirect question if you want. I don't know if, because it's a yes-no question, if is necessary in this case. So I don't know if, you don't use does, you eliminate it, and then she works, because you eliminated does, now you add s to the verb here. Then if you want to make a reported question, this is how you do it. Alex asked me if is necessary, because it's a yes-no question. Does is no longer there because you eliminated it. And then we have she worked. This is the past tense of work or works, right? So we say worked here. If you are still there, if you went somewhere else, you can say there. So I hope this video works for you. Don't forget to subscribe. Also leave your comments below. And if you like it, then give it a thumb up. Goodbye.